All right, back again on the Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm actually not inside a moving vehicle this time. I'm at my apartment. One of the good things that came out of that, though, was I realized that the microphone on my phone is significantly better than the one that I've been using on my computer. So hopefully the sound quality is better. I know the volume of my voice has sort of always been an issue for me on this podcast. So hopefully this sounds better. We'll start with the waivers. Deutsch won Ryan Broyles for $15. I think that was a good move as Nate Burleson has gone down in a pizza-related incident. Happened to the best of us, of course. But Ryan Broyles will now step in to Detroit's starting lineup and has been a sleeper all year anyways. Denenberg blew $15 on Brandon Bolden, only to turn around and drop another $42 on Mike Glennon, the new Buccaneers starting quarterback. Obviously, I think spending $42 on Mike Glennon is not necessarily a terrible move just because quarterbacks are so valuable in our league. $42 is a lot of money, and Mike Glennon is probably going to suck. There's just a problem there with Greg Schiano. People don't like him, and it's just not going to end well. But, this just means that D has blown a lot of money, but at least his education on how to properly use the CBS Fantasy Football website was free, so that's always a plus. Additionally, beyond that, Denenberg actually did get Donnie Avery for $4, which I think is a really good move. Alex Smith, I should say, really likes Donnie Avery, and he's just, he's a reliable target. So I would say that's a pretty good move for Denenberg. I like that one. Looking at trades, this was a big week for trades. Obviously, the big blockbuster being Oaks sending Phillip Rivers and Sidney Rice and $65 auction dollars to Plotzker, who gave up Tom Brady and Des Bryant. This trade just kind of boggles the mind. Plotzker has become the Major League Cleveland Indians, just selling out year after year at the behest of his greedy owner. Why does Plotzker play fantasy football? Why does he pretend to compete every season if he's just going to sell off his assets? I'll quote an anonymous league member when I say Plotzker, would sell out for 2020 if he could. Oaks' team now enters the pantheon of all-time greats with this acquisition. Leaves him with Rodgers, obviously, along with Des Bryant, Tom Brady, A.J. Green, Jimmy Graham, Frank Gore, Doug Martin. I would say look at it this way. This trade now pushes Randall Cobb to Oaks' bench. So, good old white flag Plotzker. Additionally, this was actually another big trade. Denenberg receiving Alex Smith, Rashard Mendenhall, Anquan Bolden, and $35 auction for Cam Newton. Arielle, he makes a move to pick up a big-name quarterback that he probably should have drafted back in August. Arielle now controls all three of the blackest quarterbacks in the league. Vic, RG3, and Cam Newton make Arielle's team kind of a collective fuck you to the traditional pocket passer. So take that, Dan Marino. Arielle, he's lost, I would say, a lot of his auction money, quite a bit of his auction money for 2014, so you better hope that this trade works out. I would say he's panicking a bit after having gotten off to a 2-4 start. I'm not really sure this trade leaves him in that much better shape, but it does give him the option to no longer start RG3 until he picks up his game a little bit. All right, moving on to the power rankings, we're actually going to start at the top and work our way to the back because with Oaks' recent domination, obviously the top spot is a little bit less exciting than the bottom spot. So in at number one, Andy Oaks. Oaks is the number one spot. The rich got richer this week. Oaks was able to acquire one of the top fantasy quarterbacks as well as one of the top fantasy wide receivers to add to his already elite team. He's assembled an all-time crew. I would say nothing short of a massive injury can keep him from the championship. And let me, make sure I'm saying this correctly. When I say massive injury, I don't mean to Rodgers or Brady. I mean to Oaks himself. So please, can someone step up and run him over with their car or ambush him on his way into the casino? All right, in at number two, Brian Deutsch. Deutsch is undefeated. He scored a big win over division rival Arielle last week. Jay Cutler has actually been a really solid surprise for Brian, as has Joik Bell. Terrell Pryor played a nice game, even though they got blown out. I mean, he's definitely looking like a better fantasy option than Joe Flacco at this point. I would say if Maurice Jones-Drew can rise above the shitty Jags offense, then Brian might be the only team capable of dethroning Oaks. So, number three, Billy Boris. Billy would obviously be a happy guy if DeMarco Murray played the Rams every single week. He blows up against the Rams. He always dominates. Julio Jones is consistently a top 5 wide receiver. If Murray can keep it up and Breeze doesn't slow down, then Billy's in really good shape. His early season pickup of Julius Thomas, it looks to be paying dividends as well. So Billy, he's in good shape. Number 4, his brother Ben. Ben is 2 games behind Billy for the division lead. He's outscored Billy on the year, so despite the record, he does have a pretty good team. He's suffered through a pretty ugly week 3, but he still has the best player in fantasy in Peyton Manning, and players with some serious potential. Larry Fitzgerald and Arian Foster kind of have yet to truly break out, and if they can, then Ben's in pretty good shape to be a playoff team. In at number 5, Justin. Justy has a pretty good squad. Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson have been really solid. Looks like Lamar Miller is picking up speed. Pierre Garçon has actually been more than serviceable this year. Justin is only 1 game behind his brother for the Schindler's lead, and he plays Krause this week. So things are looking pretty good for Justin. Number 6, Arielle. Arielle has been a very high-scoring team this year, but hasn't really been able to put it all together. He lost to Krause last week and got blown out by division rival Brian Deutsch. His recent acquisition of Cam Newton should help put him over the top. Trent Richardson is continuing to flourish in the Colts offense. First carry was a touchdown with them. And obviously Adrian Peterson continues to be Adrian Peterson. Arielle seems to have put all his eggs in one basket this year, so you better hope his QB stabilize. Number 7, Boosie. Boosie is he's officially, and this pains me to say it, but he's officially in the QB scare zone. Stafford has been just fine this year, so obviously that's okay, but we all know this is a 2-quarterback league. Josh Freeman has been absolutely terrible. He's gotten benched accordingly, and now Bootsy has, he has to start Christian Ponder, who is hurt and is in danger of being benched himself, or he could start Blaine Gabbert, who is hurt or in danger of being benched himself, so it's pretty much the same situation. Bootsy has a strong squad. The rest of his players are good, but he had a tough loss to Justin last week. He's 2 games out of the division lead, and he is officially in the QB scare zone. Number 8, myself. I had actually a pretty big bounce back week. I went 2-0, went 3-3. Moved into second place in the Lane Bryant division, and coupled with Plotzker's sellout, I may actually now have a chance to compete for a wild card spot. Obviously, our division race is clearly over. We can thank Jason for that. I did have to hold on for a bit of a nervous win against Krause on Sunday night. Antonio Brown was, outrageous, but I got a pretty huge week from Jordan Cameron. I was able to overcome the big 0 that I got from Hakeem Nicks and the big nothing I got from T.Y. Hilton. Also, as an aside, and I learned this earlier this week, T.Y. Hilton, his name is Eugene. His name is Eugene Hilton, and they call him T.Y. because his dad's name was Tyrone. And so when he was a little baby, they called him Ty, like little Tyrone. And so I get that. I understand the part when they call him little Tyrone because he's like Tyrone's son. That part I get. But the leap from Ty to TY with periods, like as if it's an abbreviation, that's where you lose me. So I just don't get it, and frankly, I'm considering cutting him as a result. In at number 9, Jason Plotzker. He's done it again. As previously mentioned, Plotzker is sold out on the season. He's 2-4, but he obviously didn't like what he saw from his team, and he's begun building for 2014. C.J. Spiller has gotten off to an absolutely terrible start. I really didn't see that coming, frankly. I thought C.J. Spiller was going to dominate this year. He looked great at the end of last year. I thought he was going to finish the year as the number 1 back in fantasy, and he's already pretty much taken himself out of that race. I would say coupled with the fact that Tony Gonzalez and Tom Brady got off to some pretty slow starts. Plotzker is, doing his best to avoid the Clown Bowl while looking to see what else he can sell off. In at number 10, Burgh. Denenberg has gotten off to a terrible start. He got especially handled this past week. He made some moves and traded away his best player, Cam Newton, for some auction money, a replacement QB in Alex Smith, and some other pieces. In addition to blowing all of his fab budget in Week 4, D has retooled and is ready to aggressively pursue his third-place division finish and his 12-16 final record. So, all right, D, carpe diem, way to go. Number 11, Smith. Andrew Smith. He was developing as a tough luck loser, but after last week, it kind of appears as though his losses have been well-deserved. Colin Kaepernick has just been a failure so far. I would say despite a good game from Alfred Morris, finally, Smith got nothing from Jared Cook, Carson Palmer, Andre Roberts, next to nothing from Colson and Jordy Nelson. Smith is, he's the only team in the MAM division with a sub-500 record. He appears to be in a spot of trouble. Number 12, bringing up the rear, John Krause. I would say big shout out to Arielle Glicksberg for graciously making some lineup mistakes last week and hooking up Krause with his first win. Despite there still being 2 winless teams in the league, I can't put them behind Krause in the rankings. He needed a heroic effort from Antonio Brown to barely get this W. He'll be back in the land of 0-2 weeks pretty soon. So that pretty much does it. There no mailbag questions this week. I know obviously the podcast schedule's gotten a little screwed up to start, but we'll take a quick look at some of next week's games. If you look at Oaks, he plays both of the Burgh, so could be a nice measuring stick as both of those teams are pretty good. Granted, Oaks is obviously in the driver's seat. Additionally, if you look at Deutsch's team, he plays the recently neutered Twinkle Twinkle. And then he also plays Boosie, who, as previously mentioned, is in the QB scare zone and looks to be only starting Matt Stafford this week with Le'Veon Bell taking over his flex spot. So I would say, it should be a good week for the powerful. If you look at some of the guys bringing up the rear, Smith plays myself this week, and then also is matched up against Arielle. So things, could get pretty tough here for Smith, especially with, especially with Cam Newton joining Arielle's starting lineup, and Newton actually is on a bye this week, which makes me like that trade even less. And then Krause plays Justin and plays against Denenberg, so could be a nice little soft landing for Denenberg's new look squad. But that's pretty much it. So we'll see each other tonight for the beginning of week 4. But otherwise, thanks for listening, and go Bears.